In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the advanced options of WP Rocket. One option is to prefetch DNS requests. This can be useful if your site requests items from other sites, like Google Fonts, or Google Analytics, or anything else. There's a link here to a video that shows exactly how to do it, so I'm not going to cover it in too much detail. Here's a box to empty the cache of the following pages when updating a post. Normally, only a single post has its cache flushed when you update it or create it. But this gives you the option to also flush some other pages. Then there's an option to never cache a list of pages, and don't cache pages that use the following cookies. This is particularly useful for things like e-commerce that use specifically named cookies. And you can say cache pages that use the following query strings, get variables. This would be like a search results page. Then CSS files to exclude from minification. So if you have one that's causing trouble, you can exclude it from the concatenation and minification process. And the same goes for a JS file. And then you can say which JS files should be included in the footer instead of the header in the minification process. And then also some JavaScript files that load as the page loads. Let's look at a couple more tabs. There are options for a CDN, which is a content delivery network. The use of this area is going to vary depending on which CDN you have, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but you should know that it does do CDN. And then there's this Excellent Tools tab. There's an option here to auto-update. I'm not sure why it's not checked, since I said yes at the very beginning. Then there's an option to be a beta tester. If it's very, very important that your site stay up all the time perfectly, you probably shouldn't do this. This is my personal blog, though, and I don't mind if it goes down a little bit. It makes me look at it more often. So I'm going to say yes. Then there's an option to clear the cache, and it clears the entire site cache. There's an option to preload the cache. This makes a robot crawl your entire site and cache every single page, rather than letting your users cache the site as they browse. This makes it faster for the very first person who views a given page, but pretty much only for that person. Then there's an option to download all of your options settings for this plugin. I'm going to do a save because I changed mine up above, and then I'll do that. There, Chrome downloaded it, and it's simply a text file, and put it in my download folder. And then, here's the option to import that file that it downloaded. So I could uninstall this plugin, which would wipe out all of the settings I've made, reinstall it, and upload my settings file, and it would bring them all back. Lastly, one option is to roll back the version of the plugin. Right now I'm using 2.4.1. If it were causing some issues, I could roll back to 2.4. This is really useful if you have automatic updates, and you wake up one morning and it's not working right. You can simply roll back to the version you had yesterday. There's a Tutorials tab, which lists excellent videos on how to do a lot of the things that I've talked about. Specifically several on the CDN, and then one on preloading DNS queries. They're very, very useful. There's a frequently asked questions file, but I found that it's slightly behind the one on their actual website, so I recommend you read that one instead. And then there's a support tab, which routes right over to their site. I actually used their support in the process of making this video, and it was quite helpful. All in all, I'm quite pleased with WP Rocket as a caching solution. The options are much, much more simple than either W3 Total Cache or WP Super Cache. It has some really unique features that I like and will continue to use, and I think it's a good value for the price.